Hey there, this is Mike. I want to welcome you to another Halftime Mike podcast. Super excited today because today is the launch of a new expanded format for me. And so just let me tell you a little bit about that. I've decided to kind of bring in to the podcast, to my blog, the rest of my life, so to speak. So you know that I do things about the web here, and I do things about social, and on occasion I've done things about business and leadership. And you might know if you've watched and seen me on social media that I'm a triathlete and a runner, and I love to get out and go challenge myself in new and exciting ways, primarily with the distance events and triathlons and running. And I'm all about having people add value and be uncommon. I believe that that's the core mission, and that's what I bring in MikeGingrich.com. My goal is to add value to you. My goal is to do that in an uncommon way. My goal is to empower you to add value. If you're a employee in the marketing department for a business, if you are a leader managing people, if you are a entrepreneur implementing social media for others, that's my goal. And I just realized I have my headphones, earplugs in, and I don't really need them. I'm not doing anything online at this moment, so I'm taking them out. But today's format is the first of my expanded format. So you know me best for the Halftime Mike podcast, giving you tips in web and social, as I mentioned before, and I've also done some on business and leadership. So here's my 5 areas going forward, and that's going to inform what my podcasts are about. So I'm going to continue with web, going to continue with social. I'm going to have some focus on business development, and so that is helping particularly small businesses and nonprofits navigate the early days, the startup days, the growth days, the challenge days. What do you do when sales go down? I've got experience in that, those types of pieces. So think of me as an advisor and a coach for these areas: web, social, business, fitness, and mission. So let me tell you about those last two. Fitness, I'm going to weave in and talk about things that I'm doing and why you should consider fitness as well, how that impacts your life and therefore your business. And I'm wearing my New York City United Airlines Half Marathon t-shirt today because I just finished that race last Sunday. And that's going to be the focus of what I'm going to talk about today. And however, I'm going to draw some parallels to that for business and life. So, stay tuned and explore this one, and hopefully you will enjoy this new format. And then the final one is mission, and that's all about the adding value and being uncommon. Those two roots in life. I think you succeed at every one of those if you're doing those things. I think you succeed in the web, on social media, in business, and in fitness if you are trying to add value and you're trying to be uncommon. We have to do we can't do things like everyone else does, or else we're no different. And you take a look at just in mainstream American society and their fitness level, and it's not a fitness level. If you just eat the way the normal American eats, you are not going to, be fit and have a healthy lifestyle that's going to help you leave a legacy, make an impact, and succeed in business, or in the things you're doing on the web and social. So it's all related. So that's the overview. It's web, social, business, fitness, mission. Those are my 5 areas. You're going to start seeing that a lot more coming across, and it exemplifies things. For example, I share a lot on Instagram about my fitness, my running, and also family life. That's just part of my adding value. One area where I want to add value is to my family, my wife, my children, and you see that a lot on Instagram. On Facebook, I'm focusing on, again, more of my life, what's happening, that type of thing, on my profile, on my business page, facebook.com/MikeGDigital. You're going to see more about the web, the social, but now you're also going to see more about these 5 areas. So business, fitness, and mission, because I think there's some things in here to draw from that overall help you to live a better life, run a better business, make a lasting impact, and live a life that matters. Isn't that what we all want? To know that what we've done matters. And so, that's my goal. On LinkedIn, I'm going to be a little bit more business, but LinkedIn is working for me from a engagement standpoint. So I'm also adding some things in there that are a little bit more geared towards the broader life perspective as well. All right. So anyway, that's the overview. That's where we're going today. So stay with me. We're going to talk about the United Airlines Half Marathon that I just finished March 18th, and it's 13.1 miles. It was from Brooklyn, across Manhattan Bridge, through Brooklyn, Manhattan Bridge, into Manhattan, Times Square, into Central Park, around Central Park to the finish. 13.1 miles. And I ran it with my brother-in-law. And I know that if you've listened to me before, you know I like to run with a purpose, run for a cause. I don't just run to run. I like to have it be meaningful. And there can be multiple meanings for it. Like, number one, I don't want to just do any half marathon. I like to want to have ones that are unique and something that I want to see. What a way to see New York City. I've been there multiple times, but I've never had the streets closed for me, and I've never gotten to run through Brooklyn, cross the Manhattan Bridge, through Times Square. That was the highlight right there, running through Times Square. That place was electric. I mean, they had people lining it. They had a band playing. There was all kinds of things going on. That was spectacular. And so you check out my Instagram feed, you check out my stories under fitness and my stories on Instagram and my profile. You can go back and see some of I captured some video footage. I had my phone out. I'm running through Times Square. I actually had my phone out numerous times, Manhattan Bridge, Central Park, those type of things, and I captured some of this. It was just beautiful, that type of thing. So I run for a purpose. Number one, I wanted to do it because it was New York City. I wanted to see it differently. My daughter's in Brooklyn, so I could stay at her place, apartment overnight, get to the starting line, and take off from there. And two, I was running it for the Organization for Autism Research, OAR, and this has impacted me directly. I have a niece and nephew that are varying degrees of the spectrum of autism, and special, unique individuals. Love them dearly, and I wanted to run it for them. So I'll try to post one of my videos in here. I did a video with my niece Annika on Facebook that was a kind of a promotion to talk about what we were doing, and gave you an introduction to her. We did a dialogue on a Facebook Live, got a bunch of views, and anyway, we were raising money. I had a goal of $1,000, and basically in the final week, we blew that out of the water. So I had $600 going into the final week, 60%, and ended up with $1,405, that type of thing. So $805 in that last week, which is a business principle, isn't it? That people do things last minute, don't they? They sign up for the webinars in the last minute, and we got to be ready for that. We have to promote it right, and we have to talk about it. So I had done some trying to let my community know what I was doing, and did some early videos, and then I did some videos the final week, letting people know, and getting them ready. I'm getting ready to race. This is where I'm at. This is my goal. This is what I'm trying to do. And ultimately, that came through, so I was able to raise money for them. We went to New York City. My brother-in-law, the father, Lyle, of my niece and nephew, we got to meet the folks from Organization for Autism Research, hang out with them a little bit on the Saturday before the race. Just a great organization, learning about them, and glad to contribute to that cause and in support and honor of my niece and nephew. And so training for a half marathon is not to be taken lightly, and a half marathon is not to be taken lightly. This is not something that you can just on a whim do. Business application. You can't just wing it. You can't just say, I'm going to do this and tomorrow I should be successful at. You can't do that. You try to just run a half marathon and no training, you're going to fail, or you're going to be in serious pain. Okay? It takes planning. It takes training. So does business. So does web, social. Okay? So does having a mission in life. It takes some strategic planning ahead, and then it takes putting in the work. Do the work. Okay? Each week you had to do the work. And so I think I identified in November that I was going to run this race March 18th, and got things lined up in December to start my training. I like to do 3 months at least of training for a half marathon, and I already have a base, so I'm not coming into this out of shape. I'm coming into this in shape, but not in half marathon shape. Okay, now this is where I'm going to dive into a little bit of the training aspect and the fitness side of things. That I am, mid 40s. All right, gonna be honest with you, 46 years old, and I cannot do what I did when I was 21, 22, which was put in a ton of miles. I put in a ton of miles now, 5 days a week kind of thing, and my knees get sore, my ankles get sore, my hips get sore. I can't do it. So I have to find another training regimen to work with, and I began experimenting with one and really took it seriously for this training, and it has worked, and I'm thrilled about it. And it is from the Netherlands. They runners did a group research study, and they took them through. These are all runners that were over the age of 40, and they basically did a scaled back training. So they were running 3 days a week, one long run, and that long run was generally started out, in the 6-7 mile realm, and it got up to 9 miles. So for the half marathon, the longest you were running was 9 miles. Now I actually did run 10 one time, but 9 miles was the longest. And you don't only do that once a week. So like on a weekend, for me was typically a Saturday or Sunday was my long run, and then the rest of the days you had a day off, did nothing, and then the other days you were doing some type of high intensity interval training workout, a HIIT HIIT workout that was more of a aerobic or weight routine. So I was lifting weights, small light weights, but full body type of thing. So I was working out my arms, shoulders, definitely my abs, core, back, and then all my leg muscles, so hamstrings. I was doing squats, these types of things. My go-to for that is a YouTube channel called HasFit, the HasFit Tribe, HAS, Heart and Soul Fitness, HAS Fit Tribe, HasFit Tribe, and Coach Kozak is the man there, and I follow them. I do these things. So really, I'm at max running three days a week. And in all honesty, I move that down to 2 days a week for myself. Because generally, with the long run, I would need at least 3 to 4 days to recover from that for my body to really feel good. Now, in recovery, doesn't mean I didn't do anything. So if I ran on Saturday, 9 miles, Sunday, I might do one of these HasFit routines, which, again, it's going to be about 15 minutes really in all. But I'm working my muscles, and my heart rate is getting up. But I'm not doing the pounding of running, that type of thing. I'm doing these in home, just watching YouTube video. I've got light weights. I got 10 pounders. I got 8 pounders. I got 5 pounders. That's what I'm doing it with. Repetition, routines. I'm not looking to explode with bulk. I mean, I am skinny. That's a runner's body. But I'm looking to get as lean and as rock solid as I can. And I really think it helped me this time. I recovered faster in this half marathon than I ever have before. So anyway, I was trying this new routine. It was going well, and in February, in the middle of February, remember March 18th, middle of March is my race day, I get ill. This flu thing going around. I was really sick for 3 days, but I felt horrible for 2 weeks, really. I did not run for 2 weeks. 2 weeks, 14 days in the midst of training for a half marathon, and I was worried about that. So I finally got back into running in later part of February, and I'm 3 weeks out kind of thing from the race. Concerned about that, got back into it. Times were not necessarily good, looking at that, but resumed the training, resumed running, 2 to 3 days a week. Again, generally 2. I would do the other workouts. So my other running day was either a Tuesday or a Thursday, with a long run on Saturday or Sunday. And then generally I would take Fridays totally off. And the other days I'm doing this kind of cardio HIIT workout routine with weights. So I'm working all these core pieces. I'm doing planks. You know what planks are to work all your ab muscles. I'm doing some burpees, those types of pieces there. I'm doing a lot of stretching. Older guy here, my hamstrings are a major problem, and they hurt me from heel to neck, because when my hamstrings are tight, it tightens everything else up. So I had to really work at keeping those loose. Back to this Dutch training plan, it helps you find a MHR, marathon heart rate, and you do that by finding a maximum heart rate, and then they have a formula which helps you determine a marathon heart rate, and that's a rate that you want to keep your heart at all the time. So mine turned out to be between 144 and 148 beats per minute for my marathon heart rate, which translated, it says I could run a marathon at that rate. I should be able to keep it there, and I want to do my half at that, which was, for me, that was roughly about a 9-minute mile. But it wasn't about the mileage pace. I knew it was going to be close to that, maybe lower, maybe above that a little bit. But the deal was to get your body used to running at that rate. If you could acclimate your body to run at marathon heart rate, then it would gradually acclimate to be ready to do that at the distance, at the half mile marathon, at the marathon level, and the weight workouts around that, and the other Tuesday, Thursdays where I did some speed work, some higher intensity running, were to kind of gird you up for the extra miles, gird you up for the pain, that can come down the pike in the longer miles, and when your heart rate's going to go up. So that was my training. Going into this half marathon, I wasn't sure. Am I good to go? Am I ready to go? Just because of being sick there, I was feeling pretty good, but I was still a little worried about kind of that final 3 miles out there. I hadn't really went over 10, and I tried this new training program. Got there into the race, and let me tell you about that. So again, this race was the biggest one I'd ever been a part of. I knew it was going to be over 20,000. It turned out to be 21,500, 21,600, I believe, something like that, runners that were in this race. So you had to get there early, and we got there early, like they said. But it turns out you got to wait a long time then, and it was cold out. It was 29 degrees. I was not dressed for it, so I was standing out there shivering at 6:15, 6:30, 6:45, 7:30. We were supposed to start at 7:30. We didn't get started till 7:50 because of all the people. By the time I got to starting line, it was 7:50, and I was cold. I was stiff. I had been shivering, so not the ideal for that race. I learned now that you should take clothes that you want to donate to Goodwill, and so you can bundle up ahead of time. And then they had these bins, dumpsters really, where you could discard your clothing that you didn't want and donate it to Goodwill. Should have done that. Didn't do that. Started cold. But I'll get into the race quick and run you through some things there. So we took off, and we left with the Grand Army Plaza near Brooklyn there, and we went down into Brooklyn downtown. So we went by where the Brooklyn Nets play, and we got into downtown. The first 4 miles there were just kind of a feeling it out kind of thing. That's the Barclays Center, where the New York Nets play. We went by the Barclays Center. It's a great architectural wonder. I got some great pictures in downtown Brooklyn, the cityscape, beautiful stuff. So you got to take a look at my Instagram feed there. And first 4 miles, we're kind of just getting into it. A lot of people there, just kind of weaving in and out, getting settled into the pace. We were on pace. I was trying to watch my heart rate. I'm wearing a heart monitor. Okay, so it's a chest monitor with a watch, and that's how I monitored my heart rate. And everything was going pretty decent. I was noticing some 150s, and you remember I said I went 144 to 148. Then we got onto the Manhattan Bridge, which was the first major incline, long bridge going over the East River into Manhattan. Got some great footage of that. It's beautiful, having a great time. But noticed my heart rate was averaging in the 152, 153 realm, thinking, that's a little high. Wanted to keep it going, wanted to stay with my brother-in-law. I was watching the times. We were hitting, 8:30s, 8:45s per mile, and I was aiming for around 9-ish, but really trying to watch my heart rate, trying to back off. What do I do? Kept going and decided, hey, I'm going to try to run with this, and hopefully it won't come back and bite me later on. So, just being aware of that. I was trying to be aware of my body. My body was saying, I'm okay. But I did not want my heart rate to really go up any higher because I was worried about finishing strong. Remember, I'd been sick, and then I'm trying this new program. What's miles 11, 12, 13 going to be like? First 5, no problem. Second 5, getting up to 10, really no problem. That was in the part where we got through Times Square. I think it was just electric and energizing there. Running through Times Square, all the digital billboards going, people hollering. We had our OAR team, Organization for Autism Research, was in Times Square. They were shouting at us. They had signs for us. They were taking pictures of us. We were, yeah, we're going, we're doing well, and that was awesome. Just kind of plugging away, Second 5 got us about to Central Park. I think somewhere around mile 10 we were already in Central Park by then, and that's where we first saw our families that had been waiting for us. So my niece and my nephew, my wife, my kids were all there cheering for us and gave them high fives along the way, and we were pumped. We were having a good time. My brother-in-law said, "Hey, how you doing?" 10. I think we're doing okay. We kept going then, and it got harder then, let me tell you. So I think my little gap in training, began to catch up to me there, and also my heart rate, because it had maintained in the low 150s, which is above my marathon heart rate, and that started catching up to me. My lungs were fine, but my legs were really starting to hurt. I was feeling it in my hip, I was feeling it in my knee, I was feeling it in my hip where I'd been shivering before the race started, and I felt like my right hamstring was going to cramp up. I'm just grabbing it now because that's still one of the little tender muscles I have. Post-race, 3 days later, and I was starting to have some pain. My brother-in-law was starting to have some pain, and long story short, it was a grind the final 2 miles. I was able to hold out the times, but not without significant pain, and the heart rate was up in the upper 150s at that point in time, but I crossed that finish line. I was under 2 hours, which was my goal. I was at 1 hour 58 minutes 24 seconds, I believe it was. 8,490th, I think, out of 21,695, and that was great. Finishing with just a ton of people coming through there, and just felt the accomplishment. I had pulled off this training. I was literally missed 2 weeks, and largely was running 2 days a week, trying this other fitness routine, and I just pulled off a half marathon. That felt awesome to me, and let me tell you, I think this is uncommon. So I'm letting you know that if you're over 40, you're trying to think about these things, you don't have to do it like these young runners do, and crank out high miles all the time and run 12s, 13s a couple days a week and all that kind of stuff. You don't have to do it, literally. I ran 1 long run a week. My other run was somewhere around 4 miles in that shorter area with some speed work in that, and I did these weight routines. I feel better. I recovered faster than I ever have before, and I accomplished my goal without just blowing loads of time, which I don't have as a busy business guy along the way, busy family guy along the way. So it was an accomplishment. I loved it. A few key takeaways that I want to take you back to, again, for your business and web social, is that you got to have a strategy, and you got to map it out, and don't be afraid to be creative. This program I'm using from the Netherlands, this is uncommon. This is something that not everybody's doing. This is not something that you will find in runner's world. This is not something that you necessarily find online if you just Google half marathon training plan, right? This took a little bit more research, and it was awesome. I had to Google 2-day, 3-day week training programs for half marathon, and kind of dig into this further before I came upon this research study. It was just great information. It was a great study. It was a great test. It was a great accomplishment. My niece, a number of times along the way, she said, what was this race for? And we'd say, autism research. She said, well, is that for me? And I was like, yes, it's for you. And she, you did it for me? And I was like, yeah, we did it for you. And, it meant something to her. And that's what it's about, isn't it? It's about, taking a look at your life. How can you add value? How can you do something that sets you apart? Your business, if it's going to be marketed well, there's going to be competition, but you need to be you. Be your unique you. Okay? and that's what sets you apart. We each are, we can be uncommon. We don't have to be, something that's not ourselves. It has to be authentic, but being who we are will attract that type of clientele that is attracted to that. So I want to leave you with that, and I want to say that if you're not on that fitness trail, you need to think about that, because if you want to make an impact, you're reducing your impact if you're not physically well to do that on a daily basis. And you're going to be much healthier. You're going to think clear. You're going to feel better if you get through that. And I know there's all kinds of things that can take you a while to get there. Some other time I'll have to tell you about my journey out of rheumatoid arthritis and not being able to run without pain any mile to being able to do this today. Diet changes. I am largely gluten-free. I am largely processed food-free, and processed sugar-free. I do eat a ton of spinach, but I do have meat. I have largely chicken, protein, those types of pieces. And I say largely, so gluten-free. I'm not 100% because it's just too tough at times. You go somewhere, that's what's on the table. And I don't want to be rude to people, so I will eat things. I will eat the pizza with the crust. Okay, but otherwise I stay away from dairy. I stay away from anything with wheat in it, and I try to do that 85% to 90% of the time. It works for me. I've cleaned the body, purged it out, running better, running healthy, feeling good, and that's what I want to leave with you today. Is that you got to have a plan. It's okay to think of an uncommon plan. Most plans that you follow what everyone else is doing, you're going to get the same result, and it's not unique to you. You have to think through that. And what is it that you want to accomplish? What's a goal out there, and how can you weave these things together, and how can you improve what you're doing and leave a lasting impact? So for me, you're going to start seeing more of this side of things. In this regard, it's going to be the fitness, the mission, as to add to what you already know about the web, social, and business. So, any thoughts on this? I'd be glad to have your comments. Leave them out there. This is Mike with the Halftime Mike Podcast. Thanks for tuning in. Take care.